What's up, folks? Khalid Bey. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, October 31st. Happy Thursday, happy Halloween if you partake. In yesterday's inaugural episode, we discussed New York Proposal number 1 with a focus on women's reproductive rights. Ultimately, what we like about the proposal. This proposal will be on the opposite side of the ballot this coming election, November 5th. On today's episode, I have a special guest. We're going to continue the discussion on New York Proposal number 1 and discussing a part of the proposal that is fair on its merits, but where its positioning may be a little questionable. All right, got my coffee. Cuse, you know what it is. Khalid Bey, let's talk. Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Khalid Bey. Today I have a very special guest, my brother, good brother, Rashemed Ali. Very learned brother, political juggernaut, always active in the business mind. And I wanted to get his opinion on this New York State Proposal number 1. But before we get to that, I want to take a second for those who may not be familiar, just do a brief read or a brief overview of what New York State Proposal 1, the text amendment, says. So real quick, Section 1, resolve if the assembly occurs that Section 11 of Article 1 of the Constitution be amended as follows. Section 11A reads, no person shall be denied equal protection of the laws of this state or any subdivision thereof. No person shall, because of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, creed, or religion, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy, be subjected to discrimination by his, her, or their civil rights by any other person, by any firm, corporation, or institution, or by the state or any agency or subdivision of the state pursuant to law. Continuing on, Section 11B reads, nothing in this section shall invalidate or prevent the adoption of any law, regulation, program, or practice that is designed to prevent or dismantle discrimination on the basis of a characteristic listed in this section, nor shall any characteristic listed in this section be interpreted to interfere with, limit, or deny civil rights of any person based on any characteristic identified in this section. Now, my brother, welcome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you don't mind, I want to jump right in and just ask, what do you see to be the primary objective of Proposal 1 based on your research?
Okay. So thank you for laying that out, number one. You know what Prop 1 actually is and what the language is actually stating. So before I can get to the primary objective, let's just lay out what initially existed on the books before Prop 1. Okay, because Section 11, Article 1 of the New York State Constitution had already protected citizens from discrimination in civil rights and guarantees equal protection under the law based on race, color, creed, or religion. So as you just said, what this did was expand that base to include national origin, ethnicity, age, disability, and the key one that you just said was sex, right? All the underlying parts and parts to it, which was sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, reproductive health care, and autonomy, right? So to me, we spoke about this briefly over the phone. To me, what my objection to this thing was that it seemed like it was trying to expand the field, find a crack in the armor where people who have their own agenda based on this like sex agenda, this gender conforming, gender orientation agenda, they needed to find a way to squeeze themselves into state legislation, right? Which I think it would have been open and honest had they just asked for something for themselves. if they truly are a separate class of people. Then it should have been honest. But no, what they did was they tried to backdoor and squeeze their way through. And the way we know this is because this charge is being led by New York State Senator Liz Krugman, right? And a few of her other cronies. And what they're saying is that case law that has interpreted Section 11 have found when applied to private action that there needs to be some additional legislation to support it. Right now, we know, although the text of Article 11 on its face already, the court's already found that it applies to both public and private. But they're saying there needs to be additional legislation. The purpose for this additional legislation was to expand the base. That was the purpose of it. We're not going to make additional legislation to do the same thing that the New York State Constitution has already done. That would be silly. So what they're trying to do was find their way to expand the base again, open up civil rights. We've seen this take place with affirmative action. Like I said, I hate to base this all on maybe like a color line or something, race or what have you. We watch affirmative action, a program that was created for a particular reason, where Black people were 80% of the beneficiaries of that particular program when it started, and they've now been reduced to 12% of the program in affirmative action. So I see this as the same exact mechanism to reduce Civil Rights Act and the protections thereof, which is supposed to protect people based on color, creed, religion, race, to that nature, to open it up to all of these other things. So that's my number one objection. I have three reasons, but I'd rather hear what else you wanted to ask before going into that.
So I'm hearing you right, and I believe I am, and listen, certainly in a number of respects. There's one key thing you said about spreading the base. So are you saying that you think part of the effort here is that by adding these extra parts to what was already an existing law, existing protections, it's really only a political tactic to expand the base in one respect, to ensure that they have the votes or the support they need going into November 5th?
Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm happy you asked that, because we've seen, again, just like how I use affirmative action as proof in the pudding. We've seen this happen before, right? Number one, I think the ERA, which is Prop 1, I think that it's sold as protection of a woman's right to abortion, but meanwhile, New York State has the most liberal abortion rights in the whole country. I think California is second to New York. So again, like it's asking for something that already exists, right? And there has to be a reason that you're doing that. Also, I think that they're utilizing terms like national origin, right? And I'm not going to veer off too far and get into what happened to the brother Eric Adams or whatever. But what I will say is this: I think that they're using national origin basically to enable immigrants who are not U.S. citizens to have the ability to vote in state elections. And I'm not theorizing here. New York City tried to legislate this in 2021, and it was knocked down, if I'm not mistaken, by the appellate court. It was knocked down by the appellate court because had it not been knocked down, it would have empowered 800,000 green card holders the ability to state elections. And the appellate, it's either the appellate or the Supreme Court, but I think it's the appellate court, because the New York State appellate court is the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court is second to it. If I'm not mistaken, the court threw it out based on Article 2, Section 1 of the New York State Constitution, which states that it limits voting to citizens of 18 years of age and those who have been a resident of the state 30 days or more. So we've seen this happen before. We've seen New York City actually try this. So I'm not theorizing anything. I'm telling you what's actually taking place. And I think the method there was to use discrimination on national origin. Because when you say, well, this person can't vote, and you say, oh, this person is an immigrant, but they're receiving all of these other resources from the state, yet they can't vote. And it's easier to make the case saying that you're discriminating against them based on national origin. And I think my third reason is just like the peanut gallery. You know, like you hear everybody, oh, the women's sports and, you know, things of that nature, whatever. And I'm not saying that a lot of that stuff is invalid, right? But I'm saying that's the least of our worries, I would believe, and legislating pronouns and things of that nature. So yes, I think that this is a guide to something else.
So let me ask you this: what do you think what type of impact do you think either the approval or rejection of Proposal One would have?
I think the approval of it, the impact would be that because what's happening is they want what they call self-execution. So in other words, if this passed and you know, you can draw this discrimination up almost in any way you like. If this passed, this would allow a person to go directly to the court to vindicate themselves, you know, or use some other prosecutorial methods to vindicate themselves based on what they see as discrimination, right? And it's so wide. The field is so wide now that how do you determine and discern, you know, what is or isn't at that point, right? So I think the impact number one is that it would flood the courts. It would also manipulate legislation via legislators based on them trying to gain constituents to be elected. To be very honest with you, the other part is that if it is rejected, which I hope it is rejected, I think the impact that it would have is that hopefully people who are utilizing this agenda will find other means and methods to go about trying to pass or get past legislation that they have in mind. And just be honest about what it is that you want to do, as opposed to trying to squeeze it in with something that already exists. That's all.
So you made reference to the peanut gallery, right? So what arguments have you heard, you know, pro or against, you know, proposition or proposal number one?
So, man, you hear? I'm in Long Island. I'm in Nassau County. So you hear a lot of arguments against it, and I think I'm being objective because most of the arguments that I hear that are against it, you know, I don't even pay attention to those arguments. So one of the things, you got a bunch of soccer moms out here saying that, you know, this could interfere with their child's sport, the female sports team or what have you, because of gender orientation, right? That question comes up, and like I said, although it may be valid, I just think it's the least of the issue that we have to worry about at this point. Um, so that's one. The other one is that minors could make their own decisions in terms of gender orientation. And this just lets you know that people aren't in tune with the law because most minors already have informed consent, especially if New York State deems it as a public health issue, right? They already have informed consent. They don't need their mother or father anyway. So, I mean, so a lot of these arguments are just peanut gallery ass arguments for people that, you know, that really aren't aware of what's going on. It's the same argument that I hear people make for civil rights, but they're utilizing that, saying that people should have the right not to be discriminated against, and you know the same argument, but they're utilizing an argument that applies to someone else completely. So that's really what I hear. I'm sure there's a lot more pros on this. I actually listened to a whole debate on this thing, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more pros, but it didn't jive with me what was being said.
So is New York on this hill by itself, or have you heard of any other states that are taking similar actions for this upcoming election?
There are some other states that are taking action with Article One, Proposition One. I didn't get a chance to notate the other states when I was listening to the debate, but there are some other states that this article is being brought up in. And again, this is the original article was from 1972. The expansion of this, which is what we have, is with the whole sex part. That's fairly new. So I think there's about 2 or 3 other states that are trying to push this agenda as well.
It's interesting. Before I ask you for your closing thoughts on this issue, it's obviously important for people to pay attention, to be aware of things that's going on. Oftentimes, we go in the voting booth, we never think to flip over for propositions that may be enumerated on the other side of the ballot. But most importantly, not just a matter of voting, but being clear why you're voting, how you vote, being informed about what's actually going on, and as Brother Rashemed mentioned, being clear about what the underlying meanings are behind some of the actions that people take. So, with that said, any closing thoughts on this issue, or any message that you think the good people need to hear?
Yeah, so I didn't. You know what it is? I wanted to streamline this issue to where we are, right in New York State, because this issue has tentacles and legs that spread, outside of just New York State legislation. So it's obvious this is an agenda. It's so when we look at it like this, when we have um, presidential administrations running 7,000 miles across the ocean to Africa and overlooking, and this is real, overlooking, food, clothing, and shelter, right? What we understand is social, cultural, and economic rights. Overlooking these things and you know pretty much giving these people a tongue lashing on gender identity, right? Forget forget the stealing of resources. Forget just forget underdevelopment. Forget economic issues. The first priority is gender identity in these places, and then when you see something get passed here, like this making sure that because this is the meat to Proposition One. And it's the meat. I can tell you it's the meat is because if you look at Senator Liz Kruger and you look at the gang who's behind her that's running with this is what they're pushing. This is the reason why they're pushing it. They couldn't even really speak. I'm be very honest with you. They couldn't even speak well to national origin, age. Senator Liz Kruger openly admitted that she didn't even understand what creed was. So, so this is the meat that they're pushing. So yes, what I want people to know is that there is an agenda that's taking place, right? Most of this agenda doesn't even involve, and I'm being honest, it doesn't even involve most of the LGBTQ community. Most of the people that are part of that community, they don't even know about they don't even know about these agendas that are taking place. They're like beneficiaries of what I'm saying, like a gift they didn't ask for or whatever. But I want people to be aware that there's an agenda that's being pushed, and it's it's open and it's on its face if you have the eyes to see it. This legislation, Proposition One, what I would say to people is, listen, the New York State Constitution has already guaranteed you equal protection laws and civil rights laws based on race, religion, um, creed, and just based on those things. So to remake the wheel, to add these other things in there to spread it, you have to ask what else is going on. That's the best way that I can put it.
Absolutely. And just to close out, I want to put a couple of questions for people to consider themselves, in relation to what you just mentioned, Rashmed. Why not deal with the issues separately and on their own face? Right? If it's about equal protections for persons based on gender identity, why not let that wear its own crown? If it's about women's reproductive rights, why not push that issue which has merit on its own? Why blend the two and then risk the chance of either being in jeopardy? I think that's a very interesting question to ask. They put people with so many differences in such a conundrum, and then there's so much hidden, what hidden meaning or to your point, hidden agenda behind certain efforts. I thought you made a key point about an effort, a disingenuous effort to broaden their base just for the sake of achieving their aims. I think is a very key thing that people have to pay attention to. qualified by what was demonstrated in the past with affirmative action, right? Done, but then it's watered down later, or enforcement becomes an issue, or at some point it's an effort to cause it to expire. I think these are things that we have to be aware of. I want to express my appreciation to my brother, Rashemed
Absolutely.
Ali, coming on, sharing his wisdom. Like I said, this brother go hard in the paint when it comes to paying attention to what's going on, not just in his environment, but across the country, outside of the country. So again, Rashemed, I appreciate you coming on. Yes,
No,
sir.
salute. Thank you for all of this, brother. This is most certainly going to make a difference in our lives politically and socially as well, and economically as well.
Yes,
So
yes, sir.
appreciate you, brother.
Me too. All right, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. It's Khalid Bey again with my guest, Rashemed Ali. Let's talk. See you on the next one.
Peace.